On Target and Inebriated is a podcast where guests are promised anonymity in order to share their stories. However, redactions will take place in order to protect the identity of our guests and the units they served in. Additionally, information deemed by the hosts to be sensitive in nature to the operational security of the United States military will be censored. This podcast does not reflect the official views or policies of the United States military. Okay, so on Target Inebriated episode 6. Today, no Derek. He's off. I don't know, maybe getting raped by the Army. There's any number of things he could be
Chasing
doing.
dudes.
Chasing dudes. Fucking dudes. Fucking suck.
Standard issue ball goggles.
That's right. But we are joined today
Colorado,
by...
they're trans. It's called women.
we're joined today by guest co-host Johnny, and then we've got a new guest, a new friend. We're going to call you Rick for today. So... prior service Army Ranger, 5 deployments to Afghanistan, tabbed and scrolled. Interesting career in terms of some of the, goofy shit and happenings that took place during your time in. How you doing today?
Oh, I'm spectacular. Just, I've done doing shit around the house, so here we are.
Fuck yeah, man. Awesome. Johnny, how you doing?
I'm great.
Good to hear. Good to hear. So, I guess getting started, like being that the entire point of this podcast is just talking about the more retarded shit that goes on with your time in service. There's a story that kind of is floated around within our community, within our friend groups, about your time in service and some of the more interesting parts of what happened when you were in. You were involved in a little bit of a incident with a very specific air platform.
Yeah, my claim to fame is I did not die in an Osprey crash. That is my main claim.
Against the Air Force's best efforts.
Yes, them and Gravity's best efforts still couldn't kill me as much as they tried.
Yeah, so
yeah.
No, like I said, it was a standard, by the book landing.
Yeah,
they just
yeah,
turned
exactly.
it into a smoking hole.
Wheels down and exact TOT as they wanted, just at a significantly higher speed and higher velocity than we all wanted. To be honest,
just at 300 miles an hour.
Yeah, I think the one, well, to keep it light or whatever, the joke of it always was is their fucking that whole entire task force call sign. They were and we were. I was just like, I was like, why in the fuck would you name yourself after a flightless bird? Like, really, like trying to get along, but it's like there's no other fucking call sign you guys could have come up with, but.
So
whatever, man. Yeah, that was like my 5th mission too. So my whole career was kind of derived or under the lens of like whenever I talk to new guys, I'd be like, I'll be real. The most dangerous shit we do out here is fucking flying to target in the under night vision, in the dark. Like, sure, there's fucking Hodge out here with a gun, and the IEDs are really the big threat for us. But like me and Johnny's fucking experience were significantly different. He had, in my opinion, he was on a lot more, I would say, direct contact. Like and when it would come to like, I don't know, larger scale, conventional style stuff. I did hundreds of raids, but 9 times out of 10, it was just fucking balling someone's ass up. They didn't really want to fight most of the time. So the main thing that I'm known for though is. Well, yeah, that's what I'm saying. Totally different war. I think, definitely the Team Merrill stuff was more kinetic. With the task force that I was part of and the group that I was part of, our key leadership really took, basically setting the condition. Like, basically the joke was one-way firefights are the best firefights. We would prefer to, like, land in right on the X. We would land offset, walk in every fucking time. Just because it's better. It was honestly safer. Like, it's better to kick someone's fucking door and be like, you're under arrest, as opposed to fucking trading out this massive shootout in a close proximity in the dark with people. So as a young guy, you're annoyed because you want to get into shootouts, but as a kind of appreciative that somebody was smart enough to keep it like that because you lived long enough to. I mean, I know a lot of guys who got plussed up, so it's not that dudes didn't get shot or killed and stuff, but mitigating that risk I appreciate that professionalism, I would say. There's definitely people who are more about just want to get into the gun and kill people and all that stuff, which and naturally you're going to kill people and target, but I appreciated the not to get killed in the process mindset, and I think that kind of carried on how I became a leader in the military and stuff like that too. I really learned that setting the conditions and really being an expert in the basics is what's going to keep you alive more than relying on a Spectre gunship or an Apache to come save your ass after you put yourself in a shitty condition. So,
For sure, yeah.
anyway.
So kind of going back to that, like you said, that was your fifth mission. So this is like early on in your career at regiment. Just got out of basic, got out of your OSIT, went through. Was it RIP or RASP at that point?
It was still RIP then. Yeah, so I went through RIP, and then
Hey.
when I graduated RIP, it was basically mid-rotator for where I went, and so they ended up not sending that generation mid-rotator, so we had to wait for them to come back. So I missed that. I would have had like technically 6 deployments if I had been sent over on that one, but it basically was like 9 months of a training cycle before I actually deployed the first time, which was we went to Bastion, which was like when they were building like Camp Leatherneck down in the Helmand province, and we did more or less. So that was my first deployment where I did really 1 or 2 missions, and then one like week-long recon thing into Marja, which was actually that's where I got my like CIB, where I was just like driving around looking for the Taliban, which was basically driving around until we got in like a shootout with them. And be like, oh, they're on here on the map. Fucking drive away.
put a X there, Bitterman.
Literally like, oh, we're doing recon. I was like, this is fucking not the kind of recon, like, I thought we're not supposed to get seen. It's like, nah, man, they know we're here, So it's like,
So just
all
wait until
right,
somebody
but that
shoots
was
at you, and then drop a pin on the FPCP2.
pretty much.
I don't think we're doing recon. Shut up, you fucking pussy.
What do you know, Cherry? You're like, I don't
Yeah.
know. I'm on this fucking 40-foot tall vehicle in the middle of this.
You know why they call it
field
rip
getting
cherry?
shot.
You can't rasp somebody a new asshole.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah. No, I mean, it was that was like my first kind of really just experience, obviously, into just how I'm not like just methodic and mechanical it was more than, like what do you fucking know until you actually get overseas and it's like, oh, what's it like getting shot at? It's like, it's just kind of fucking sucked. Like it wasn't like oh sure, like your adrenaline's going and you never forget it, but I don't know. It's one of those things where I preferred them to be ended as quickly as possible too.
So methodic and
But
mechanical up until the fucking bird that you're flying on is hurtling towards the ground at 300 miles an hour.
yeah, until some Air Force to like land at 0-second TOT and then not land, like crash.
Do you want to
Yeah.
kind of like go over that, like go over what took place, like go over what were you guys doing out there? Don't go too deep into the mission set, I guess, but like what were you doing out there? Yeah.
So that was so yeah. So that my first so yeah my that so that was technically my second deployment, which was the crash. So my first deployment, I do that. Don't end up going to school, but I do get put in charge of a 60 mm team. So I'm like an untabbed specialist team leader that gets attached to this platoon. So there's the kind of fucking crap you got to deal with there. But
Oh,
that
you were
was
a
good.
chuck.
I was
That's
a good.
right.
Yeah, I was a good mortar though. So that was the thing is I was a very good mortar. They couldn't take that from me at least. So, and I did the training. Like I finished did the big platoon training events with them and showed that I was obviously capable. So like fucking whatever, we'll take what we can get. Which was kind of ironic because I did the con skill before that. I did like EMTI stuff, so I got a little bit more medical training than your average person does. Like, so you get like Ranger First Responder or whatever, but which is great first training. But I just had this tiny like cunt hair extra bit of like trauma medicine training, which then I somehow happen to get put into that 60 team that ends up being on that thing, which ends up actually, I mean, just me having kind of a better concept of triage and my skills were enough to where it saved quite a few people's lives actually, which was that's how that universe works every once in a while. But anyway, yeah, it was like our fifth mission ever, or our fifth mission on that deployment. We'd been using 47s. We'd only trained with the CV-22s once or twice the training cycle before, so there's already kind of like, this is real. This is why I learned to keep my mouth shut. me and Tilly, me and my buddy were walking to the ready room or the talk or whatever, and I was like, man, I hope we don't fucking crash. And he's like, man, you can't say shit like that. And I was like, like fucking whatever. And then dude, it was, already setting a bad tone for the night. So then we go on the talk and we're starting to get dude, this night was just weird. There was a whole weird vibe. We got the female interpreter attached to us, which none of us had ever had like a chick attached to any of our task force. So we're like, well, that's already kind of weird. And then like the fucking, I can't remember if it was like a battery, like those big weird looking battery surge deals that are in talks where there's like way too many things plugged into them. Not like the strips, but like the big ass box that has like a fan that's trying to cool it. Anyway, one of these things is like
what is the UPS? I got you.
Something like that. It just in the middle of the fucking con op, this thing like explodes and like bursts into flames. We're like ripping stuff. It was just weird. Anyway, and then the birds were late there, so they finally show up. We have like they do the meet and greet, which it was just, in retrospect, honestly, the vibe was very like off. But what do you know? You're like a fucking chair. To me, in retrospect, I don't know. Maybe my brain just playing that trick in my head or whatever, but it just felt different. And me and my 60 team buddy were like, where do we sit on the bird? Because we've never. And I was like, let's just fucking go kind of towards the front. Fuck it, and like that little random decision basically totally saved our fucking ass, which didn't have any idea that was gonna be what happens, But anyway, we get in the aircraft, and these motherfuckers like take off, and like we'd done a couple of training with them and such, so this was a much more, and I mean, as you know, like doing when you're flying over in country, the combat flight is definitely more aggressive than in training. Like doing like the fucking C-130 death dive into a base. I've done that before, and that's like that made me fucking almost throw up. So it's like,
yeah,
maybe the takeoff is supposed to be this like hardcore and vertical. I mean, because the target was only maybe, oh man, I don't even think it was like 10 kilometers away, and we were gonna offset like 4 or 5 kilometers anyway. So there was literally no rush. It was an offset infill. We're gonna sneak in, take our time, that kind of shit. But when we were flying up, we were flying straight. It was crazy. Like I was like looking down, and I was looking straight at the ground, and I could see the other Osprey behind us coming straight up. So we're hauling ass. And as we're finally then we go into like, as it feels like a leveling out, and then your dive coming in. I'm like, all right, here we go. We're going to target or whatever. And as we were like coming in, it was just like very unstable. I couldn't really get up onto one knee. Like the whole time me and my other guy are trying to like help each other get up onto a knee so that we can get ready to run off the bird. And I remember we kind of like really like, I think this is what, so reading the report, this is whatever the report says of the pilot like seeing the ground and pulling up. My experience of what was going on is all of a sudden all of a sudden you can like see the ground behind us, and I was like, once again, still pretty new, but it's like I have my night vision. I have my night, you know, I have my
Something's
night vision
amiss.
fucking. I was like, yeah, like my night vision is like, adjusted to probably 30, 40 meters, and I can see as we're coming in extreme details of the ground, and we are hauling fucking ass. And I'm like, my brain's like, damn man, we're cruising. He's gonna have to brake like a motherfucker, and then boom, like I mean, fucking wham! I'm like the heart, like it just like wham, we nail like, and then I hear like a rush sound, and then my feet fly up over my head, and I'm like, oh, this is not fucking good, like this is not good. And then yeah, man, it's just like hearing the sounds of like a fucking aircraft disintegrating around you, and then like people fucking screaming and shit, and like, and then it was just like nothing. Uh, and I come to, and well, yeah, the other details of shit in there, but I won't go into that stuff. Then I come to, and I'm like fucking like hanging, like we ended up upside down, so I'm like hanging from the roof by my safety line, and I'm kind of a gear queer, so I had like one of the new safety lines. So I didn't have one of the old green. I had one, but I got one of the new ones just before deployment. And I was like the only dude whose safety line didn't like most people's safety lines either completely broke, like the 10,000 pound rated carabiner snapped, or the literal tether snapped, or the flooring they were attached to just came apart, So, and as like the aircraft had flipped, basically, I mean, like in obviously helicopters, we're not in seats and shit, so every piece of loose fucking equipment, I mean, if it wasn't strapped down, everything ended up at the tail end. So like the bird basically snapped the front of it. We hit like a ditch or something, and it snaps the front of the bird off and folds it underneath, which ejects the co-pilot and then crushes and kills the crew chief and the other pilot. And then the FSO behind me gets ejected as well. So everybody behind me, this is talking about placement in the aircraft. Everybody behind me gets fucking crushed, killed, or ejected out of the aircraft. Everybody to my left gets smashed to death. Like everybody to my left died from the
Jesus.
flip.
Good
So
God.
so then everybody else, it just so happened like down in the wreckage. So part of the when we're crashing, I was holding on to my dude, and I think that's part of this. Really, the only way that he ended up directly underneath me in the wreckage. So, which I don't know about all this other like what had happened to people. This is all retrospect later. When I come to, I'm like, well, first I'm like, oh man, being dead isn't so bad, like, and then I'm like, holy fuck, being dead hurts like fucking hell, and then I like come to, and there's like the alarm of the aircraft is like chiming, and then it like dies off, and like it's kind of honestly it's quiet. It goes super quiet. Um, it's definitely catching on fire, which I'm like first I'm like I'm the only person who lived. You couldn't even hear any. You didn't hear anybody else. It was just like dark, but the only illumination was like clearly flickering, and so my brain was like, I gotta get out of this motherfucker because it's on fire. And then, and I'm like, oh shit, I gotta get my guy. Which I start yelling for him and realize, oh, he's still alive. So I reach down in there and grab him and pull him out. Which I fuck him up in the process of doing that, but we were like on a time constraint, kind of.
Yeah, just a
And
little
then
bit.
he fucking, it's like his head was like stuck in between a bunch of shit, and so which I didn't know, like literally his head like pressed in between smashed like wreckage, and so when I ripped him out, I tore his fucking ear off.
Ooh.
Like I fucked him up, but it's the side of his head too. Anyway, we won't go to all those, but anyway, we crawl the fuck out. I basically look, and as you can kind of see, like from the fire that's starting, you can kind of see like the light difference in the aircraft of like where there's like a hole basically. So because like the back of the bird's upside down now, so obviously the floor is the roof, and then the back of it is like almost bent, like a fucking 20-degree L.
Yeah.
And then so we go fucking crawling out, and as we get out, I kind of look back, and we're having our own little, more or less discussions there. And this is all happening pretty fast. But as I look to my right, it's like, oh shit, someone else is still alive in here. Like people basically start waking up, and so there's a bunch of fucking drama with that, and dragging everybody out, and then at this point the fire's like spreading pretty aggressive. Like this motherfucker is burning, dude. And then like there's like fuel dripping and shit. Maybe that is like, maybe they did dump the fucking fuel and that's why we all just didn't burn alive, but it was definitely still dripping fuel and very much on fire. And then we get everybody out basically into like a CCP of sorts, which was like me and like a couple of people helping. Basically everybody was fucked up. Like we didn't really, and the other bird did at first landed close, but then went and landed further away because they were afraid we were just gonna detonate and catch the other bird on fire and fuck them up too. So they were like, they landed them like a kilometer away, and they ran there in like less than 10 minutes in armor in the dark. Like, it was fucking crazy. They're cruising, but by the time they got there, we had already kind of gotten everybody out, and then it was just like packaging up people as quickly as we could, and then the super wounded were immediately flown to like BAF and CAF and shit like that for surgeries and stuff. So if we didn't have exfil, it would have killed pretty much. It's like 4 people that died, and then there's only like 4 or 5 of us who returned to service. Everybody else was either killed or ended their careers. So the injuries were, they lived, but they were fucking nuked, you know. So, and that was fucking, yeah, that was like my fifth or sixth mission total ever.
What a way
And
to
then
start off.
yeah, well then there's like, well fuck man, what do I do? Like my back, like I hurt my back pretty, like the me, a lot of injuries were from being tethered to the flooring, and then that impact and jolt, so all that inertia at your waistline. So like I fucking herniated discs, and like some dudes tore their abdomens like open, but they had like a visceration, but the skin was held together basically. Like,
oh, so it was like
it
their
was,
abdominal wall is sheared in half.
yeah, from the hole more or less. So like,
Jesus.
and then like, yeah, just a lot of crush, a lot of, so it's like that's where kind of that EMTI injury training came in, where it's like more or less like car wreck injuries, you know. And
Yeah,
then
goddamn, dude.
yeah, and then it was like most people were sent home. Me and my other guy we stayed on that deployment, healed up. I went on missions like 2 weeks later because I was like, my back was fucked up, and I had like black eyes and shit. But I was like, more or less, I was like, I gotta start. Why can't I just sit here and think? I gotta start going on target. You know, like,
Were
I
they
definitely
giving
don't
you
want to
the
like think
option?
about this.
Were they like
No,
give?
I had, they gave me 2 weeks off because I couldn't even like fucking move, and then I
That's the most
went to
regiment
them and I
shit
was
I've ever
like,
heard.
yo, yeah, I was like,
So
yo, I gotta go out. So I started carrying like a Skedco at first, and then when my 60 team buddy healed up, which he had way more worse injuries than me.
Is this guy who's missing
He
the
had like a
ear?
fucking, yeah. So like they sewed his ear fucking back on. His side of his head was like double, dude. It looked like his brains were coming out of the side of his fucking, like, it was wild. Like we had like a whole conversation. He's like, man, I think I'm dying. I'm like, yeah, I think you might be dying, dude. You know, like, it was gnarly.
that's a good observation.
He was like, how's my head look? And I was like, I'll be real, man, not fucking good. Cause you could like, it was bad. And then he fucked his like elbow and shoulder up really bad, but he got himself back in shape. We both started going back out on target. We finished that deployment. Then we both came home and went to Ranger school. Like, and then we finished our careers. Like, did like 3 more. Yeah, that was my second. So I did 3 more deployments after that. Went to Ranger school, went to sniper school. Like, just had a fucking really fucked up back. And then, like I just like muscled through it because what are you gonna do? Like, I mean, the whole reason I joined the fucking army was to like that was supposed to be what I was gonna do, you know.
Yeah,
So
for
it's
sure.
like, can't go back home. There's nothing to do at home. Like, so I just kept muscling through it, and then a bunch of other fucking crap happened. But long story short, I threw my back out really bad on my last deployment, and that was when like it was I just couldn't fucking use my leg. I could barely walk. So I was like, oh well. And that basically obviously took me off the manifest, and then got me sent home, and then started me getting out of the army basically. So that's kind of how my military career went. So like I did a lot of stuff in between the wreck, but the wreck or the crash was absolutely the like I did Team Merrill and I did lots and lots of
Oh,
raids with
that
them.
whole story, that was the crash. That wasn't a regular landing with an Osprey. Okay.
No,
Oh, okay. All right. I
that
didn't
then
know.
like I mean we fucking a good one was like we started this and we went back to well so that happened in Colombia. To keep the birds or to keep ospreys still in theater, they moved them to it's like, oh, they're not high up in the mountains, so the air wasn't fucking. So like the whole like, well, there's like the article we just read was like there was a mechanical failure. Like, well, the last excuse was that the fucking air was too thin and like the pilots couldn't see the dirt and their fucking electronics didn't work. It's like, dude, these guys are just showing off and they fucked up and no one wants to admit that. So it's fucking terrible what happened. It's like that's what happens. Like
They probably got all
literally
the
pride
awards
goes.
too in the book.
Yeah, yeah, dude. So,
So what you're
but
telling me is that internet articles about the military are generally sanitized to make us look good.
yeah, and I would say the people who like war to continue don't have any say in what the fuck comes out in the yeah. CIA and all them don't have anything to do with that stuff.
No, absolutely not. Of course. So you're getting
But yeah,
towards
so
some more shit that had happened.
no, yeah. No, I mean, we did the. Oh, I mean, the other claim to fame is the wrong way of putting it. But that I was in the task force that had Extortion 17 in it, but I was there like 3 weeks and left before they crashed. So we were just part of that Ranger platoon that was more or less attached to them, and then we ourselves when we went to the tank like literally like 15 fucking RP. We went in there, took a bunch of RP. So we flew in there with the Natty Guard pilots first, and took a shit ton of like RPGs and fire from the ground, and they almost fucking got us. Like I don't even know how to do it. Like this RPG detonated so close outside the bird that it like illuminated the inside of the bird, and you heard shit like hit the bird, and the fucking thing like shifted good 30 degrees sideways. And we fucking were going. It felt like we were going down, you know. And then this pilot saves it. We fly out of there because what had happened is the Apaches that were supposed to show up there and cover our infill were late, so we flew into the fucking HLZ with no cover, with like Natty Guard fucking dudes who'd never been shot at before. So anyway, take all this fire from them, fly back, land. The reason we didn't tell the 160 or didn't take 160th up there the first time was basically we'd been fucking going out like every night hunting these dudes for a while. And so they were like, dude, we're going home. Like, we don't want to, like, they're basically getting ready to rotate home. They were like, we're packing up kind of attitude, which was true. And then we came back and we're like, yo, we found them. So they like fueled up their birds and packed them up. And then we got right back in those birds and ran the mission through them real quick. And like, not even 45 minutes to an hour later, we were flying same infill, right back into there. And just same thing. As soon as you like made that turn and then the mouth of the ravine, cause you like fly up the ravine to get up the mountain into the table.
Just doing the trench
And
run.
as the bull, yeah, literally. And like as the bull like opens up, they just, cause they know where the terrain is and how the birds have to get there. Like they're not fucking retarded, you know? So they would preload a shit ton of RPGs and shit. And then as soon as you would like break in, they would just kind of have a general idea where you're at. And then also, I didn't know that you could like airburst fucking RPGs, but they sure as fuck did. So it was wild, dude. So we fly, but finally the Apaches came this time, so we go flying in there, and you know, with the 160th, you got look. I mean, as soon as one fucking bullet shot at us this time, though. So the other detail from the first time is the Natty Guard guys panicked and didn't even shoot back.
Oh,
So
like their crew chiefs weren't
we
even
went in
opening
there,
up.
bro. It was fucking wild. They were like,
Hell no,
one of
you're
them
getting
was like
shot at.
leaning against.
Shit's scary.
Dude, I literally was like, "Yo, fucking shoot your goddamn gun," you know. And he like, anyway, we and I was like, so at that time I was a ladder team leader, and this is the Team Merrill shit. So this is why we're like kind of out there doing stupid shit with few people. But I had this like perspective where I was at is I was the very first dude to run off the ramp because I had to carry this fucking ladder so it's to like not trip everyone. So I'm like hands and knees on this ramp, seeing all this fucking. All I could see like RPGs coming up and tracers coming up between us and the other aircraft, and like all the miniguns are going off on each side, and all the 240s are fucking going off, and I was like, God damn, man, like, you know,
Oh yeah, we're
fucking,
cooking, baby.
Oh, so you had a first-person
yeah,
view of
dude,
what
yeah.
was going on.
Yeah, it was wild. And then we come fucking landing, and you know, because I'm a nerd like everyone else, we come running off the ramp, and it's like waist high wheatgrass in the spring, kind of going into the summer.
Yeah.
And I was like, man, it's like fucking. There's like tracers coming out of the tree line in front of us, at us. Like miniguns are raking this fucking tree line, and then like Apaches are coming in and strafing it with rockets and 30 millimeter. And I was like, bro, this is like fucking Vietnam, bro. You know, like in my head, I was like, this is fucking nuts. Like this
This
is,
is
and
what my
so
pappy warned me about.
exactly, yeah, you know, and so which we like ran around throughout the night and like killed like 15 dudes or some shit like that. But the
Hell
main thing was we stayed there and occupied. We got to our target building anyway, and then like did the whole thing, and we're sitting on the roof, and there's a lot of activity around us in this village, and we're like, yeah, no shit, you know, like
yeah.
those after last night, they're surely here, you know, and so they do like a show force with an F-15, and which was one of the craziest things I've ever experienced. I gotta see, like, of everything I saw overseas, watching this thing like fly in faster than the sound barrier, and then like breaking the sound barrier over this village, and then bursting all of its fucking flares, and then you know taking off, and like it just reverberated in this bowl of a valley thing, and it was just like like my brain was just like seeing that kind of power and that shit over a mud village. My brain was just like, what the fuck are we doing? I was like, after that, I was like, this is just a shit show. Which I mean, it was awesome. Like my lizard brain is like, this is fucking sick, and then my
Yeah.
left brain's like, dude, this is fucking. We're gonna get killed doing this, you know. Like, and then well, this is the fucking bummer part. So me and me and that. So the funny thing is, the guy that was in the crash with me, we were together most of our deployments. So like everything that I went through most of or that was at least intense, he was like 1 foot away from me. So that's kind of funny.
Do I know him?
And but anyway, yeah, it's you know
Oh yeah. I know you're talking about.
yeah, but anyway, I'm like playing laser fucking hide and go seek with this guy at like 200 meters. He like I'm on the roof. I can see the fucking like window shade kind of slightly being cracked open. You know, like oh, it could be like oh so inconspicuous. You know.
Yeah.
So then I like shoot my laser through it real quick, and it closed real quick. And I was like, hey yo, there's like, and then that happened like 3 times, and I was like, all right. And I report that up. Nothing
Are
really
you saying
comes
was
of
it
it.
IR
We
laser
end
or
up.
Viz?
Oh no, this is daytime. So this is daytime. This is Viz, and
Gotcha.
basically we're being clearly observed by somebody. And yeah, so yeah, that's this whole show of force was the daylight too. So that perspective of seeing it in the daylight was even more, in my opinion, even more powerful. But long story short, we were talking about rodding out there, remaining over a day out there, bringing in the other platoon and making like a 2-platoon thing and really fighting these motherfuckers. And then, but the issue is that we had been on this extended deployment, so we were almost at 7 months, which I know that's not much to a lot of other dudes, but for in the regiment's world, doing a 7-month stint straight, basically, literally, would just do like one of our deployments, and then you would become like Task Force Merrill or Team Darby, whichever era you were kind of doing it. So it's just like your normal kind of intense deployment, and then immediately become needs of SOCOM, more or less, for like 3 months, which was, they were pretty fucking needy in the 2010, 2011 era. Yeah, it's fucking so.
A clingy
Doing a lot
bitch.
of like flying around. Yeah. But so I mean, I got very lucky in the fact that I got to be part of 2 very, very busy task force. So like when I say something like, yeah, I went on a lot of missions, I know it comes off as like, I don't perceive it personally as a flex. It's just like I got lucky being on 2 busy task force. So if I'm like giving a class on something like a raid, I feel like I have a little bit more credibility where I was like, well, I've at least done this applied this quite a few times, not like I'm some fucking big dick swinger.
Yeah.
Because most of the time you're kicking the door. Most of the time it's like everybody knows. It's like anyone who's not being a fucking, in my opinion, unrealistic about it. Like obviously regiment kills people and regiment gets in shootouts, but like 99% of missions are they fucking give up because they know they're just going to go to jail and either get cut loose or go to jail where they get to eat and chill and hang out and like blow each other. So it's like so. A lot of like, why would you get fucking killed? So
yeah. When your boy tried the prison guard.
Exactly. Well, that's too. I was deployed when that fucking giant prison break happened, and like 500 motherfuckers escaped right in the middle of the country. It was like literally 2 years of work escaped overnight because they dug a goddamn tunnel for each other. It's just like
that's fucking awesome,
joke,
man.
Like
absolute
it was crazy. We just started killing the fuck out of people though, because we're like, hey man, it's a lot better when they like, you can't get out of jail if we shoot you in the face 40 times. Yeah. So
yeah, they're not doing the Great Escape thing where they're digging 3 tunnels that are fucking 60.
Yeah. Like I mean.
Yeah, behind a poster of like a chai boy's butthole or something.
Well, it's like, yeah, it was what I really did get to experience. So that's okay. What I will say is like, yeah, we didn't get into a lot of like direct shootouts, but what we did a lot of is, I mean, it's just the mechanics of everything like I was talking about is like, if we really, really wanted to dust these motherfuckers, we would land. So instead of landing far away, we would land close on the X, and then just spook them out. We just spook them out of the bush, like chase them into the fields and let the Apaches kill everyone. So it's like, yeah, we killed a lot of people, but it wasn't like most of them were not with our rifles. So it was absolutely, and that's the thing too. It's like, what are you trying to do? You trying to be like some fucking hero who's going to end up getting shot or getting somebody else shot or step. Honestly, as always, the main threat is IEDs. Yeah. So it's like, we don't want to be chasing you cocksuckers around because you lead us into stuff. So it was a very much a surrender or die scenario, which what are you going to do in that kind of like that? Like that was the thing. If you surrendered and you legitimately surrendered, you were not harmed. But if you tried to shoot at someone, you get killed. There's not really like any debate there. So I feel I have no qualms about anything that I did. That's for sure. Like I didn't fucking commit any crimes. Like people fucking, you either went to the red Chemlite or you didn't. That's your fucking that's your choice.
A lot of people don't know. To me, in the pretty much the same battle space at one point. I'm pretty sure he flipped me off.
Add a note.
Oh yeah, it's totally possible. Yeah, that's quite
yep. Yeah. Sorry about that.
Yeah. Nah, it's all right. I genuinely don't care.
No, I get that.
It's yeah, sorry.
I've got a brand to maintain.
Me and Rick were in the same battle space at one point.
Yeah. No. Sorry about that. Yeah. So like, yeah, I'm definitely not a Tim Kennedy type where I threw 50 fucking grenades. Like I did my goddamn job, and when asked to, I did a good job, and every once in a while there was a motherfucker that was in the way, and so I had to fucking toast him. But I'm not gonna like, I ain't the Reaper, you know what I'm saying? So,
You ain't
So
got the
that
hair
dude is
for it.
I was
also he's got to be clearly lying as well, you know.
there's some stuff that's pretty churched up, I would say, but some stuff that was just like, I mean, yeah, technically you shot a guy, you know, like, but I would say
Wasn't the
the thing
cleanest
that I was
kill.
known for and that yeah, right. Well, what I'll say is what I'm proud of is that, to take anything away from it, is I was known for being clutch in the clutch, and I did what I was asked, and my dudes knew that if shit went down, I had a literal, like, award saying I'll come get your ass. So
Yeah.
people knew that I was there for them, and they knew that I didn't give a fuck. Um, we're either all coming home or none of us are coming home, and they knew that for sure. So that's the one thing that I'll say that at least the close people I knew thought of me.
So
A
you
lot of
were a
people probably
Chuck.
fucking hated me too. I mean, without a
Yeah.
doubt, people hated me too. Don't get me fucking wrong. Yeah, like, I would say an original vermin for sure. So
I got. I,
definitely.
I I was listening to another podcast where with a dude that I'll just bleep his name.
Oh yeah.
There was a part where he brought up the whole helicopter crash thing, and he went on to mention like, did you at some point on deployment rip a light fixture out of a wall by chance?
Oh, that wasn't on deployment. That
Yeah, I think
was
that was in the barracks, wasn't
yeah, dude. So I got like, you
it?
guys, well, the fucking the original Four Locos,
Oh
and
Jesus
so there's
Christ!
like the Four Loco challenge, which is you drink four Locos in an hour. Well, me and a buddy of mine, we drank 5 in an hour to
Oh my
break the
God.
record, and I like fucking blacked out, and I was walking down the uh barracks hallway, which if you've been to the, like the open hallways, and I was just smashing the fucking ceiling lights out with a broom handle, and and then like one of our guys came running down the hallway trying to stop me, and I just started beating him with the fucking. It was bad, yeah. I was definitely
Start beating him with a broom handle.
dude, and it wasn't like the fucking aluminum. It was like the big, thick, like wood ones that the army gives you,
They're
like
just
it
canes,
wasn't
dude.
the fucking. I was painting the shit out of this
Yeah,
motherfucker, and
get
then
out of
like,
here, young man. I don't need your help.
yeah, dude, I had a lot of, yeah. I mean, in retrospect, obviously a lot of stuff was pretty unhealthy, but at the same time, like that was me, man. I was crazy as fuck. Um,
Every
Probably for
time
pretty
I
obvious reasons, but
so I lived down in that town for about 2 years. I was as a contractor down at that unit, and I obviously I wasn't like super like I wasn't going into the cough and all that kind of shit for the vast majority of the time, but like I I would see you guys out in town. It's pretty easy to pick you guys out compared to any of the other units there. And it was fun. Like anytime I'd go to any of the bars, or I would go to, especially out in like anytime I drove out there, I saw bars with signs that specifically said "No Rangers Allowed." I was like, I wonder what possibly could have happened here to have caused this.
well, the old school. I mean, like there was like the old story from, I think it was the '90s, where I think it was like ACO beat the fuck out of a frat and like destroyed their frat house, and then that was obviously like, which I don't even know how real most of that was, but I think that is a real story. But then obviously that anytime there's like any story, or any of our anytime somebody hears like, well, this happened back in the fucking '90s, and I was like, yeah, dude, that doesn't mean let's go tee off on the fucking rats
Yeah,
now.
I'm sure
So
Rangers back then did the same shit that Rangers do now.
yeah, so I mean, like, there was definitely a couple of scuffles that I honestly did not go to Auburn.
It's like a fucking drive.
Well, and like purely just for the sake of, I mean, which I honestly don't know how it is now, but it was pretty damn strict when it came to any kind of like trouble with the law, of any type, so it's like my main thing, like honestly, the advice I gave to everybody anytime someone wants to join the military is like, know who you're like. Not everyone is your friend. Some people are fucking retarded and will get you. Like, for all the crazy things I did in the Army, they were usually inside the brown fence. You know, like, I would not, like, I did a couple of crazy shits downtown when I was, like, in air stuff, but that's where I kind of started learning. Or it's like, dude, if you're going to drink that much, you got to be in the brown fence kind of thing. So we stayed in,
You weren't,
I lost a lot of things from DUIs for RFS and DUIs. Oh, no, it sucked. I once again,
well,
like I said
just
before,
had standards.
Well, it was just, this is what I wanted to do. I always wanted, from when I was a very, very small kid, I wanted to be a ranger, and then I wanted this to be my career. So that fucking corny sayings, DUI or drink and drive in one hand, which everyone does, but it's I got lucky too. Let's just put it that way. But not proud of everything I did, but
there's a couple of factors there that also kind of pile on to it. Like that you're under a microscope for getting fucking pulled in RFS and shit like that. Like if you're out in you'd probably have
all this. There's a lot of MPs around and shit.
Yeah.
So, and then there was this and then downtown, when I first got into battalion, the strip downtown had fucking 2 MPs and 2 cops total. And there was this Halloween fight where these bat dudes were just teeing off on some fucking air. And the cops jumped in to try to stop it, which everyone was super fucked up, and it's Halloween. Literally, it's a Halloween thing. I'm not going to say it's because people were in costumes. They didn't it was just people were mostly just fucked up.
Yeah.
And they kicked the shit out of the cops, too. So, they fucked up the cops and, the MPs and the cops. So that got, an EXO fucking RFS.
Holy shit.
Got a bunch of people in trouble. And then literally after that, that was fucking 2000 and that might have been the anyway. After that, it was 20 fucking MPs and 20 cops downtown every time, and there was a no fucking tolerance policy for a lot of shit, which we obviously we'd fucking start something and run away.
Yeah,
but
you can't just run up and yell tab check at a homeless guy and then hit him in the face with a microwave gas station burrito that's like napalm and then fucking stay around and kick the shit out of him when the cops show up.
Yeah, well,
that was my first experience of that.
Dude, I did an air in a fight, and it was we were in there by downtown, and this fucking I was I just wake up to the hotel room door busting open and a bunch of dudes starting to run in. I'm like, what the fuck? And apparently my homie had started a fight and ran back, and they'd followed him back basically.
Why'd you bring him here, dick?
Yeah, basically, dude. And and it's a brawl, So I stand up, I jump up, I pick up the fucking microwave, throw the fucking microwave across this, hit this, drill this motherfucker with the microwave, and which throws him off pretty bad. And then we're fighting him, pushing him out the door, and then this one guy just does he's just not gonna give it up and does I'm gonna push the door open with all I got, but that means his arms and hands are down, and it's just his face in the door. And I fucking punched in his face as hard as I could. I was just and he fucking just spilling back. We closed the door, lock all the locks and shit, and then they ran off because I'm pretty sure the lady that worked there was what the fuck's going on?
Dude, I could just imagine it turned into the fight from Pineapple Express when the fucking what's his name, dude? Kenny Powers.
Yeah.
That actor. When he betrays someone, they start fighting him in his house.
Yeah, dude, yeah.
Put his head through the fucking wall or whatever.
I hated that fucking kid too. Like in retrospect, I should have fought that guy more regularly than I did.
That town is
Only
not
like
fucking safe. Like,
no,
no, it is a absolute fucking shithole. And I didn't live.
Yeah.
I got a decent little loft apartment when I moved down there, and I didn't live in the hood, but I lived adjacent enough to the hood that I could like observe questionable behavior taking place, like down the road. You know, like pull out a pair of binos. It's just like, what the fuck is going on over there?
The army is like when it's like you shouldn't go into those places. Like they're not fucking kidding, dude.
Yeah, you're going to die. You
should die. Oh, yeah. Like, oh, that strip club is a shithole. Don't go in there. Yeah,
did
they
they
just
have
rob you. Yeah.
what the fuck was it called? Did they have the when you were there?
Oh yeah, dude. The fuck is always been there.
It is.
I think it's been like the Native Americans owned that property.
Oh, so it was around when we fucking first came through and colonized the area. That's how old it is.
Yeah.
It is so run
when
down
the
and
fucking
decrepit.
conquistadors.
Hell yeah,
dude. They're all bad.
Good for
Yeah,
them.
no, there's not a good. I'm gonna have to do so much bleeping here, but there is not a good. I'll say not a good strip club. I don't think there are many good strip clubs, but especially
Oh, I thought you were gonna say.
like. Okay, well, you know, it's.
But we would go. What our platoon tradition would be before deployments. We would go to town.
Yeah. Okay.
And dude, we some of the fuck. That's where. So it's like I'm not a good person. You know, like definitely like I'm a debaucherous piece of shit. But, like, you know. So what are you gonna do about it?
I've been in New Orleans during Mardi Gras with you. I know.
Yeah, I can black out in public. I haven't done that in a long time.
Is there?
Yeah, basically.
Go ahead.
No. Yeah, that's bad. I basically stopped trying to black out in public.
Yeah. Is there anything off the top of your head that like sticks out to you, either from your military career or, I mean, I guess also just fucking around in the shittiest part of that can really like sticks out to you? Like any specific stories where it's just like, yeah, in retrospect, that wasn't a good idea.
Oh fuck! There's got to be plenty of those. There's a few that even I know of that I wasn't even there for.
Yeah, no, I mean, I'm trying to think of like
while you're
retrospect
thinking
something we did like in training or something I did in my personal life, which I won't talk about. A lot of shit in my personal. I think one of the funniest things that we did that was like a forced training thing that was over the top, in my opinion, was we did our long TFT thing in El Paso, and for some reason they were like, which were gone for like 2 weeks. We'd already did our airfield seizure. We're already all up on jumps. They decided that we're gonna, after we finish this super long, like 2-week training event, we just do this fucking long ass walk across the goddamn mountains, freezing our asses off. And they're like, we're gonna fucking jump back into bed. Everyone's just like, why? You know, like what the fuck? So whatever, man. We're gonna do it. That's the whole job. It's like, we'll bring some chutes in. Fuck it. We're jumping up. We're going. So I was like, fine. I was like, well, what plane are we taking? At least like, please be a C-130 or a C-17. Oh no, of course it's fucking C-130s. Oh, are we doing a Hollywood or a combat? Of course we're doing a combat. So like, you get fucking. So it's like, the people that don't know, when you're doing a combat jump, you have like your ruck and all that shit. So like, when you get into the C-130, you're just smashed in there, and the rucks are like sitting on your lap, and like other people's ruck is on top of your ruck. So like the crews can basically just walk across the top of your rucks, and you're just like sardined in there. This is like a fucking flight, and dudes are fucking pissing themselves, and it sucks. And anyway, we finally get there, and we're like, okay, we're coming around to jump. And we get up, and we come around for the first pass, and they give us the wind call. We're all stood up, you know, snapped in, ready to fucking jump. And they give us the wind call, and the dude goes 33 knots, which you're not supposed to jump like over 7. 17 is the max you're really supposed to jump at.
You're doubling it.
As I like, yeah. And so we're like, fucking, they're like, do another lap. We go around, come around. 33 knots again. And we're like, okay. Thank God. Like I was like, they're gonna kink it. Like they're just gonna kink it. We'll just go and land on the airfield, whatever. Come around again.
Wrong.
And these
Wrong.
motherfuckers go 0 knots, and dude, the plane just goes like no, like everyone just yelled. Like a bunch of dudes like ah no. I was like, dude, they're making us jump out of this fucking plane, bro.
Yeah.
And so we do it.
0.
We jump and like we jump and. For most people that, if you don't know, like when you jump, it's quiet, but I could hear like the wind blowing through my risers and like rippling my parachute. I can tell that I'm careening because this is a daylight jump. Thank God it was a daylight jump, but it's like I can tell, and like I'm a husky motherfucker, so it's like I've never been dragged before, Dude, I hit that goddamn ground so like I went ankles, shoulder, and like thankfully it had been. Also, we got kinked and rolled 24 because it had been snowing on Ben. Jumped onto this like super. If this field hadn't been as muddy as it was, I'm pretty positive I would have shattered my collarbone. Like I hit hard as fuck. Like I went ankle, shoulder so hard that I almost flipped up onto my feet. Like it was, and then my risers wrap around my feet, wrap around my throat, and like fucking hog tie me basically. And then my chute fills up with air and just starts dragging me across the airfield and choking the fuck. And I'm like, one, I'm like, that landing was insane. And then two, because I was pretty good at PLFs and shit. I'm not gonna lie. And I like basically PLF'd so hard I almost did a fucking flip. That's how fast I was going. And then I fucking am wrapped up in the risers as I do that little flip, and then immediately being dragged. And so I'm like, I had to like pop my chute, do all that shit, chase like I had to pop both of the goddamn canopy releases so that the chute, because I popped one and it just stayed full and just kept dragging me and choking me. So when I finally popped both of them, gather up my chute, go and find my homie, and we were sitting there, and I was like, God, like Jesus fucking Christ, man. Like he's like, yeah, that one was rough. And we jumped Red Bull, so we're like sitting there. We're the first chalk, so I was like, dude, I'm gonna watch everybody else jump in because that was nuts. And dude, I watched one of my homies got knocked the fuck out, and like just looked like a dead guy getting dragged across the airfield. like run and jump on his chute, and collapse his chute for him. This other guy came in and like his equipment hit it. Like it was just it was wild. It basically like hurt like 4 or 5 dudes that had to go to the hospital, and it was like a completely unnecessary jump. It was a week and a half before pre-deployment block leave. Yeah, so it's like now we got dudes who might not be able to deploy because they just got injured on this one. So it was just like that was one of the dumbest things we'd done.
And I'm guessing guys were like getting blown off target. Like if you have a 33 knot wind.
Mm-hmm.
It was no one. Thankfully, no one landed in the trees, but it was definitely a short jump.
There's no trees in
the worst.
No, this is.
Oh, this is back. Oh,
somebody landed in the.
Okay. Oh yeah.
Oh my god.
The worst, honestly, kind of like the soul crusher. I watched it like I watched this training event. I watched it make people decide they're not joining the military or not reenlisting. Like you could see them like these are dudes who are either just got their E5 or about to get their E5, and they're just like, nope, I'm done. And basically we were doing an EDRI, so we're jumping into Kentucky, and of course we got to jump an 81 mortar in. Long story short, we go to throw this bundle. Well, that's the thing too, is they were training up one of the fucking jump masters who like to get a mortar bundle out. You gotta kind of like you gotta man chuck and throw that motherfucker out the door and you gotta like basically do like a rocking toss motion because if you kind of try to shove it out the door, as soon as it gets hit by the air, it just slams against the door frame, and you can't push that fucking thing out. So you got to kind of like get the majority of it out the door quickly and let the air grab it and pull it out basically, and then the mortar guy behind it, basically call it chasing the bundle. You basically run and jump on top of the fucking bundle almost as it goes out the door.
Otherwise, you're gonna get yanked
so
out.
This
right?
dude, Well, it's just you're not like so close you're gonna get grabbed. The point is you're following it like another jumper, so that you land close to it.
Oh, okay.
Well, this guy, and the other thing too is a lot of them let us help them push it out. This dude would not let us help, and then once again it got stuck in the fucking door. They finally got it out the door, and then he held me back and did like the full lean out, check the plane, make sure nothing got snagged. And it's like, dude, every second that you're not jumping, you're like a football field and a half away from this fucking thing.
Mm-hmm.
So I eventually, it was like, I was counting in my head too. It was like almost 11 seconds after my bundle goes out, he lets me jump. Because we're jumping on like a 3.5K drop zone in Kentucky long. And that was kind of his thought process was the majority of the jumpers are going to land at the other end of the airfield or end of the drop zone and gather up there. I have a lot of drop zones, so what's my rush? Not giving a fuck about the fact that I have to go find this mortar.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, I also had a super heavy ruck because we had a small group, so I had to jump oh fuck, I had like poles and a sight and all. Basically, the ruck was so heavy that I had trouble like walking with it. And when I jumped, I was only in the air. I basically came down and went through like a tree, like not a but like a tree that was small enough to where it's shorter than the risers. So like when I hit it, I didn't like get caught in it. I like fell through it, and then basically it was like being held up above like a 15-foot tree, and then just like dropped. And so I fucking like comically like smash through this fucking tree and land, and I sit on my knee. I basically land with my knee or my leg under me, and I thought I tore my left
Jesus
ACL.
Christ.
So I was just like, so I'm like laying there like, dude, fuck this. I don't even want to do this. And then I was like, I'm gonna
Just
pop a
fucking
red
kidding when
chem
you're
and
back.
just say like, dude, and it hurt. It definitely really hurt. It's like when you know like those times when you hurt yourself, you see like a white flash of pain.
Yeah.
It's like a white flash. So anyway, and then I'm like, no, dude, you're literally the reason they made you come on this is you're one of the like you're one of the only people who's done one of these before because it's like a new guy thing. So it's like you got to go gather up your guys. And I was like, I'm gonna pop my red chem. Fuck it, I don't want to do this. And then I was like, oh, the grass is like 8 feet tall. No one's gonna even see me laying out here. I have to like limp. So I basically limped my ass to like the rally point, gather up all the privates, find our mentally retarded E7, and then the guy who was in the fucking helicopter crash or in the Osprey crash with me was there. He comes showing up out of nowhere because we couldn't find him for a while. He's like, man, oh, this drop zone was like an old impact zone on in years, and then they just made it. We decided it's a drop zone because it's a big open field. So there's like huge impact craters out there that the grass had like grown up in and like irrigation shit. And so basically you could like be walking and then just fall into crap. And he fell into one and broke his tube, so he was literally just walking around in the dark. He's like, man, I saw a fucking chem light over here. I figured I should go over there. I was like, well, good guess because you found us, you know. But we do that whole so then we sorry, this is rabbit trailing, but we spend hours. We spend hours and hours and hours trying to find the fucking mortar bundle, bro. And these mortar bundles, it's an 81 millimeter system that you like pack up, and they're like 8.5 feet long, and they're like maybe 4.5 feet. Someone's being mad because I'm saying this wrong, but basically they're like a big rectangle that's like 2.5 feet thick, and but it landed in fucking like 8 foot high grass on a 3.5K by 2K drop zone. And we're looking for this thing all goddamn night. We find one of the recce dudes out there, and they had a 4-wheeler. So we're trying to like use this 4-wheeler to look for this thing. Flip the 4-wheeler onto the RTO, hitting one of these. They hit a fucking like impact crater. Flip this like 4-wheeler on top. Like I just see this thing flip, and I just see legs and like a 117 underneath this thing, and I was like, oh my god, we killed him.
You see
like, oh,
two
fuck,
little mangled legs just hanging out the bottom of it.
Because we were basically, it's like the super tall, like razor elephant grass. So we were like using this truck or this, sorry, this or this 4-wheeler to like smash the grass in front of us to try to help us blast a trail through this shit. And there's like also like fucking thorn branch, like it, dude, it was. And the whole time, the whole entire training scenario was that we're invading North, and I was just like laughing. I was like, dude, if this was us in North, little fucker would have killed our asses already, dude. I was like, so we'd have literally achieved nothing besides being lost in this fucking. Because we knew where we were, but we had to go find this bundle. Anyway, we end up not being able to find it, which is a no-no. Go catch up with the leadership and catch up the rest of the task force. We end up, we had 2 bundles. Sorry, there was 2 bundles. We found one. We could not find the other. So we did have a mortar, but we didn't have 2 of them. And so we still did our mortar stuff, which we had to do like anyway. This whole entire time, I am like limping my ass off because I can barely put weight on my knee, and I like lifted up my pant leg and it was like completely swollen, purple. Couldn't see my fucking, like I'd blown out my other knee in high school, so I was like, dude, I got myself good, you know. This isn't good. And anyway, we go through the whole thing. It's a total kind of a nightmare of a night, shit show. Mission's over, and then the first sergeant and the CO, we're going to get on, and we also took ospreys out there. Some of us flew and jumped, and then some of them flew in fucking ospreys the whole way, which was nuts. From Ben, literally the airfield at Ben, this place in Kentucky, fucking refueled. Anyway, they go, we're going to exfil with everybody, and they're like, oh, you guys aren't going anywhere. You couldn't find your mortar. We're like, are you fucking kidding me? And they're like, yeah, you got to go find your. And we're like, dude, we don't. How the fuck are we gonna get home? You know, and like, well, now you guys are. They basically made us attach ourselves to rear bond. So we did like this whole EDRE thing, do all this shit, and then they're like, now you guys got to stay here and find the chutes and whatnot. And there's like 250 chutes we had to collect in this giant drop zone in this tall grass. Dude, it was a nightmare. But anyway, we like eventually steal like one of the rear Vaughn vehicles, and drive straight back. Look, we were there for like a whole day. No, and no one has like their phone and wallets and shit because this is still like, like the iPhone. Like we don't really have smartphones still, and like we're only going to be gone for 8 hours, and you don't really want to jump with anything other than your ID. You're not going to bring your like cash and your fucking debit card and stuff. So we like borrowed money, borrowed a fucking CQV, or borrowed like a rental van that we weren't supposed to. And we had all of our like automatic weapons and shit in there, dude. And like we only had we were wearing, like, all we were in cries and shit. So we drove from straight back to Ben, all in cries on like, I think the platoon sergeant did have his debit card. So like, but none of us had, like, you couldn't get like a fucking Gatorade or something, you know? It was just like, so we mob. Get back at like 3 in the fucking morning. Make the little arms room kid come in there and let us turn our weapons in. Go to my room, take a shower, lay down, look at my phone, and it's like 4:55. And I was like, oh my god, thank God I have tomorrow off at least. I remember closing my eyes, and then like as I'm like laying there, my phone just starts ringing, and it's the CQ number. And I'm like, what the fuck do they want, dude? And so I'm like, what? And they're like, you need to come into work. And I go, absolutely not. I just got off work like 20 minutes ago. And they were like, dude, long story short, we had to do school. They calling everyone in to do school. A soldier, because a dude had gotten a DUI while we were out there doing that training thing. And so,
oh my god,
it had taken us. So I literally had maybe been laying there for 10 minutes, and then I had to come into work. We're getting like fucking bag drag. They're dumping all of our stuff. Like they're like checking our faces if we'd shaved, dude. It was just like too much. Dudes were done, dude. Like the dudes were weird. Because the thing is, like, they were like, you could tell because when they left us, everyone just kind of like, we all jump on MRE just for, it's part of the packing list, but we just like sat there, cracked this MRE that we were never supposed to eat, you know, and like watched everyone fly away in Ospreys and C-130s, and we're like, dude, did they just fucking leave us here? And you could just see dudes like, they're like, all right, I'm done. You know, like and then we get home after all that shit and immediately have to come and do School of Soldier. And it was, oof, that was one of the worst, like, dealing with Army shit experiences of my life, you know, that I had in my career, for sure. Like, I can't really off the top of my head think of like a 36-hour period where I was just like, if I could just walk home right now, I'd do it. You know, like one of those things.
Christ.
Like if I could straight up just be like, I quit, you know, pull off my dog tags and throw them at him or something, you know. But,
I like how no matter how high up you go, you still got to deal with some stupid shit.
yeah, I mean, the thing, so like the other, so to cap that off, so I don't want to talk you out too much longer, but like the main thing though that I did, it was after I was out of battalion, which I wish I had this epiphany a little bit earlier, which I understood the concept of like leaving the place. It's just really understanding that like regiment is not about you, it's about regiment. So it's like I really understood, like really to the heart understood the like, or believe the like, not embarrassing your country and not embarrassing the guys who came before you. But it's like you still want to get your promotions and shit, you know. And so when you're mad, you don't get that kind of stuff. It's like ultimately the only thing that matters is that you leave regiment like better than you found it. So, or that should be the ultimate goal. And then like if you go on to other places in the military, make that place better than you left it. Like that's the whole Abrams charter. So
don't be Tim Kennedy.
there's definitely like regiment's a fucking great place to grow up, and become a very skilled infantryman for sure. But I mean, it's also changed a lot now too. But I would, in retro, if I hadn't been, well, I'm not gonna even say it's because my back gave out that I got out. Who knows? I probably would have gotten out anyway because of stories like the one I just told, basically. But like I think, well, the goal was either go up higher or get out. And once my back like exploded, it was like, well, that fucking answers that question.
Did you get med boarded or did you just ETS?
Yeah, I med boarded. Yeah.
Oh, gotcha. Okay.
Yeah.
Fuck, man.